Ocean on the Rocks. Coming back to you guys with another one. Recognizing the Game. Episode 45. Black Flag. Y'all through Savage, you know what it is. It's the Semen Retention and Authentic Self Part 4. So, within this series, it's focusing on the relationship between self and other. Who you are as an individual, and it's all about being in tune with your own nature, your own biorhythm. Who you are at a soul level. And when we get in a relationship, I've spoken on this before, that getting into an intimate relationship is probably one of the most profound ways of coming into recognizing yourself and being conscious, something that is going to awaken you. And I mean awaken you to being aware of these painful situations in order to force you to elevate in your conscious to understand the world that we live in and the duality of it. When we understand the duality of it, there is an outside and there's a within, but it's all one. The duality is just recognizing how one object transitions to the next object, the difference in the physical reality, the changing in one state to the next, and the different manifestations of nature. So being in a relationship and going through a quote unquote heartbreak, or what they deem heartbreak, from my own experience, what I went through was a very stressful and trying time because I was 21 and I had just turned 21 at that time, and I was in a relationship with a woman that was really just, she clung to me. She clung to me in the beginning of that relationship. I was grounded in who I was. I knew who I was. The difference between me and her was that I was further along in my spiritual evolution than she was. I know that I had experiences in the streets that had kind of pushed me further along, and just as a soul that has come into this earth, I was already attuned to certain abilities and have always had a resistant nature to authoritative figures who were trying to take me away from who I was. I remember getting in trouble for not getting accelerated reading points, accelerated reader points in elementary school, but yet I had a proficiency to where I was reading grade levels above the grade level that I was in. I was in second grade, but already reading at a fourth grade level, transitioning to fifth grade level. And I used to miss recess sometimes because I didn't have enough accelerated reader points, in the fact that they were trying to get me to read books that I had no interest in. Just to put it into perspective, nothing against these books, but I didn't want to read Harry Potter. I wanted to study ancient civilizations. I was enthralled by Kemet and the Maya, and had come to find that I have ancestral ties to the Maya. So when it comes to my indigenous identity, my tribal identity and my ancestry, but more so along the Caribbean, the Taino, the indigenous aboriginal status, Aboriginal Americans coming from the Caribbean and indigenous American lineage. But just to get back to it, there are certain things about who I am that even though society disagreed with it, I had to stand in it. And even if a perceived negative outcome came from it, because this is me living in the truth of who I am. When you understand your authentic self and the path that it will take you, you're going to have situations where people move against you and you're standing alone in how you feel about it, where everyone is looking at you with a weary eye because you're not standing in line. You're not getting in line. You're not doing what everybody else is doing. You're not doing what they say you should be doing. You're not becoming or doing those things that are trying to make you become who they want you to be. So as I got older, that same mindset was just there. It was going to be there. And that had me stepping outside of the bounds of what one could accomplish in terms of manifestation and who I am. I've always been able to go within, but that doesn't mean I didn't have painful experiences. So when I went through this relationship with her, I remember at one point she had asked me, I think we were having a conversation about sex, and I think I had asked her if she gave head, and she was like, "No, I don't give head, so don't ask me to do it." I was like, "Look, I was just asking a question, bitch, because you asked me about how many bodies I had and shit, and asking shit that really didn't matter to me. There was no, it didn't make me who I was. I didn't feel that it was necessary to ask that, but it's all about quote unquote wanting to get to know a person. I don't care how many bodies you got, as long as you're healthy and you taking care of yourself and you love yourself and you know yourself. But I'm always gonna look at how you move. When she came at me sideways, about stuff that she didn't have to and came at me with a limited view, I stood my ground and I would speak my piece. And she was the type of person where I used to have to make her look me in my eyes or make her communicate. If I had a problem with her, I addressed that shit then, immediately in that moment. Or I would pull her aside at a more appropriate time and say what I needed to say to her. I remember one day she was pissing me off because she kept talking out the side of her fucking neck. And I pulled over to the side of the road and I said, I'm tired of you trying to make me out to be somebody I'm not because of guys that you dealt with in the past. And you're going to stop talking to me any kind of way and you're going to respect me for who I am. And I would let her ass know. And I would stand my ground and we ain't talking about it anymore. You can feel how you want to feel and she would end up coming back. But the point I'm trying to make is that you standing your ground and you being who you are. It may look like it's a negative experience in the beginning, but you will realize a positive outcome will result from that because you're standing in your truth, because you have to know who you are. Because in that situation where I was like, first of all, I wasn't tripping off of whether a woman gave me head or not. That shit didn't mean anything to me. Like I said, she told me, don't ask me to give you head because I did it one time and I didn't like it. And my thing was I was just asking to know. So then what happened? A couple of weeks later, I was going to take a shower and she was like, let's take a shower together. And I was like, the fuck you mean? That's me time by myself meditating under the water. I'm a Cancer. I'm water. No, you can't come between that relationship. But I was like, you know what? I'll do it. Next thing you know, she started giving me head in the shower. But I manifested that. Like when you start practicing semen retention and you're retaining your energy and you make decisions because you're doing what you need to do when staying true to yourself, you'll manifest things later down the line that you didn't think. You wanted it at one point, but because you let it go and you weren't concerned about it and you were grounded in yourself, it ends up coming to you. You wanted it, but you didn't have to have it. You got it then. You didn't make a big deal about it. And that's just an example of being authentic. When you're authentic, you're going to manifest things. You're going to manifest that life that you desire because you're going to move in alignment with who you truly are. You're in tune with the soul. The soul is the most important aspect of your being. It gives the body life. Once the soul is gone, the body no longer has a purpose. And if your body is turning to shit, your soul is just going to be like, shit, I'm tired of being in this motherfucker. I'm just going to leave it and we're going. You know what I'm saying? But the longer that I was in that relationship and I was having so much sex with her that it was starting to throw off my balance. So then when the relationship ended, I had all of this untamed sexual energy. Not realizing at the time, I unconsciously resorted to porn and masturbation to deal with that. And I didn't realize it until a couple of years later when I came across the concept or the idea of retaining your semen. But there wasn't any of this on YouTube. Like none of this was on YouTube. Not at that time. And I wasn't even on YouTube like that back at that time. It was just an idea that came into my head when I was on campus one day at the university and I had gone a couple of days without masturbating. I was like, why all of a sudden are all of these girls gathered around me? This is odd. And I'm like, it was just an idea that came into my mind. I was just sitting outside in nature. These women were attractive like the women that I saw in porn. And look, at the university I went to, it was beautiful women everywhere. Like every time you turn around, you see one beautiful female, and then right after you see a female better than her, and it was endless. So it was like I didn't even know. It was like, who do I choose? But you know when you look beyond the physical. So I had brought this idea to some homies one day, but they were like, you know, then whatever. And it wasn't like I beat it into their heads, but because it was just an idea that I had at the time. But it was around 2018 that I came across semen retention via YouTube, though it was 2013 that I had the idea and brought it up to my college homies. It just came from within me, the authentic self, who you really are. And it's a part of life to step away from yourself, and it can be painful. And the power of your hidden abilities comes from you persevering and pushing through those limitations, those negative ideas and the painful situations that you have to heal and move beyond. And in a relationship, you can be so focused in on the other person that you forget who you are. And I'm going to keep touching on this and bringing up other forms of knowledge from my experiences and the experiences of others. But think about the things that I've said in this video. And I'll be talking about things more in depth in the next coming videos. And this is recognizing the game. Love. Salud.